So I think the biggest cyber threat facing the government today is really the idea of how do you use the scarce resources that you have. So we're in an era where we have to limit our budgets, limit our spending, means cutting back, trying to figure out how to reduce security spending. When in fact, what we really need to understand is how do we get more out of the dollars we're spending. So I think one of the biggest challenges is being faced is really justifying and understanding the value of where the investments are going, prioritizing where the biggest investments are needed, and then really looking forward and saying, how do I grow my organization, understanding that I may not always have the best resources to do it with. So I think in that context, it's really, how do I make my dollar go further and get more security out of that dollar I spend? I get asked that question a lot, and I'd say the biggest piece of advice I would give is understand your network and understand it better than the bad guys. And while that seems very simple, that's our job, we've got to understand what we're protecting, I find so often that organizations simply don't look at their environment from the same perspective that the attackers look at it. So they're looking at it from the end to end of, what does your physical network look like? That's pretty easy and well defined. But then what's your extended network look like? Who are you doing business with? What does your supply chain look like? What cloud applications are you using? And as you start moving further and further away from the core, you start finding that the vulnerabilities start increasing. And from the attacker's perspective, they're going to find the path of least resistance. So if you really want to maintain security, you've got to go far beyond where your physical network, your enterprise exists, and really look further into the areas of organizations you do business with and make sure they're just as secure as your own organization. My hope, I'm a hopeless optimist, is that we are going to get to a point of being safer and getting stronger security. The good news and the positive silver lining is that we're coming together to build better standards, to build better approaches. We're looking for new ways of leveraging integration to get better value. So when we look at efforts like continuous monitoring, we're recognizing that security is not a point-in-time area of opportunity, but really something we need to be monitoring across a period of time, but we need to have our systems working together to do it. So when we start talking about these fundamental changes in architectures and frameworks, we're moving the ball forward. So, from my perspective, I think as long as we continue a pace of innovation and evolution, we will get safer over time, and I'm hopeful of that as well.